You ever felt like the whole world was against you? Like every time you take a step forward, life hits you with something new, something harder, something designed to make you quit. You look at the obstacles, you listen to the doubters, you feel the pain of your past failures, and you hear that voice in your head whispering that it's over, that you're beat. Well, today I'm here to tell that voice. I'm here to tell those obstacles, and I'm here to tell every single thing that stands between you and your purpose, to look you in the eye and scream with everything in you, you are, you can, defeat me. This isn't a slogan. This is a declaration of war on the weakness within. This is the battle cry for your destiny. Now, are you ready to fight? The first and most critical error you can make is misidentifying your opponent. You look at your life, at your lack of progress, and you externalize the enemy. You point to the economy, to your difficult boss, to your competitors, to your upbringing, and while those things present real challenges, they are not the fundamental source of your defeat. To believe so is a catastrophic misdiagnosis. The real battle, the war that determines the outcome of your entire life, is an internal civil war. It is a conflict between the person you have comfortably settled for being and the far more capable, disciplined, and truthful person you have the potential to become. That weaker version of yourself is a cunning adversary. It's the voice that rationalizes procrastination as waiting for the right time. It's the impulse that chooses distraction over deep work, because the deep work is cognitively demanding and existentially frightening. It's the part of you that would rather be right about your own limitations than risk being wrong in the pursuit of something greater. This is the dragon that guards your own treasure. You see, you negotiate with this internal enemy constantly. You bargain for mediocrity. I'll just scroll a little longer, then I'll work. I'll start the diet tomorrow. This internal saboteur doesn't confront you directly. It demoralizes you slowly, eroding your resolve until surrender feels not like a defeat, but a relief. But you must come to understand that this internal conflict is not a pathology. It is the fundamental condition of a meaningful life. To have a value structure, to have a goal, is to have something to fight for. And the primary resistance you will face is your own tendency toward laziness, deceit, and fear. So you must stop declaring war on the external world and start taking aim at the chaos within your own being. So you've identified the real enemy within. Now, what is it that will allow you to stand firm in that battle? Because willpower alone is a finite resource. It depletes. You burn through it by noon dealing with trivialities. What you require is something far more foundational, a purpose so compelling that it transforms the very nature of the suffering you will inevitably face. Your why is not a sentimental notion. It is the fundamental axiom upon which a resilient personality is built. It is the ultimate source of meaning, and meaning is the antidote to the suffering inherent in existence. Without it, pain is merely pointless torture, and you will flee from it at the first opportunity. But when your why is powerful and clear, when it is something like providing a genuine opportunity for your children, or pulling your family out of a generational cycle of poverty, or contributing something of true value to the world, then that pain undergoes alchemical transformation. It is no longer just pain. It becomes sacrifice. And a man or woman who understands the nature of sacrifice is virtually unstoppable. They can endure the grueling hours, the criticism, the boredom, the rejection, because those things are measured against a towering, overarching aim. The pain of discipline is weighed against the pain of regret, and the choice becomes clear. Your why is the armor that stops the arrows of doubt and distraction. It's the reason you get up an hour earlier when every cell in your body screams to hit snooze. It's the reason you say no to a distraction that offers fleeting pleasure but steals from your ultimate aim. It fortifies your mind, it makes you formidable. So you have to dig down beneath the superficial wants and ask yourself the most terrifying and necessary question: what is it that I serve? What is so important to me that I will willingly bear a cross for it? Because if the answer is nothing, then you are defenseless, and defeat is not a possibility, it is an inevitability. Now, if you have a clear sense of purpose, you must next understand the terrain upon which this internal battle is fought. And that terrain is the daily grind. This is where people make a catastrophic error in perception. They see the struggle, the effort, the sheer monotonous difficulty of doing what is necessary, and they interpret it as a sign that they are on the wrong path, that the universe is resisting them. This is a profound misunderstanding. The resistance is not a sign to stop. It is the very substance of the transformation itself. Think of it like this: a weightlifter does not build muscle by avoiding the strain of the barbell. The muscle is built through the micro tears caused by the stress. The pain is not the enemy of the process, it is the mechanism of the process. The same is true for your character, your competence, your very soul. The friction you experience when you force yourself to concentrate, the exhaustion of pushing past your perceived limits, the emotional toll of facing your own inadequacies and working to improve them. This is not meaningless suffering. This is the price of admission to a more meaningful life. It is the privilege of paying a cost for something of value. To refuse the grind is to refuse the growth. It is to choose the path of least resistance, which seems easier in the moment, but ultimately leads to a life of fragility and insignificance. You become someone who has never been tested, and therefore someone who cannot trust themselves when a real crisis emerges. You have no evidence of your own capability because you have never voluntarily submitted yourself to a difficult trial. Embracing the grind means shifting your paradigm entirely. It means seeing the early morning, the rejected proposal, the extra hour study, not as punishments, but as investments. It is the conscious choice to exchange the comfort of the present moment for a more capable future self. I want to be very clear about the nature of failure, because your conception of it is likely wrong. You operate under the superstition that failure is a final state, a destination. That when you are knocked down, the game is over. This is a naive and catastrophic error. Failure is not an event. It is a piece of data. It is feedback from a complex and often brutal reality, informing you that your current approach, your current strategy, or your current level of competence is insufficient to achieve your aim. That's all it is. The defeat, the real permanent defeat, occurs at the precise moment you decide to stop integrating that feedback. When you choose to lay there and narrate the story of your failure instead of using it as a lesson to adjust your stance and rise again. Resilience is not an absence of falling, it is the practiced, disciplined habit of getting up. And each time you do, you are not the same person who fell. You are someone who has now integrated a lesson. You are harder to knock down the next time, and you know a way that doesn't work. This is how confidence is built. This is how wisdom is earned, not through a seamless upward trajectory, but through a series of catastrophic setbacks, each one followed by determined recalibration and return. The world will test you. It will deliver blows that seem designed to break you. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can see yourself as the victim of a malicious universe, or you can see yourself as a participant in a difficult dialogue with reality, whose job is to listen to what the failure is screaming at you about your own inadequacies, and then to address them. This isn't positive thinking at the most brutally pragmatic approach to existence there is. You either learn, adapt, or you are selected against. It is a fundamental biological and psychological principle. All of this, the internal battle, the purpose, the grind, the resilience culminates in a single pivotal shift that must occur within you. It's the movement from a state of hopeful speculation to one of unshakable conviction. This is not about blind affirmation or empty positivity. That is a hollow and fragile thing. This is about the hard-earned, evidence-based belief that comes from having walked through the fire we just described and knowing with certainty that you can withstand the heat. It's the cognitive realization that you have faced down your own weaknesses, endured necessary suffering, and gotten up after being knocked down. That history of micro-victories writes a new narrative in your nervous system. It moves your goal from being an abstract out there, possibility, to an internal here, inevitability. Your language changes from I hope I can to I know I will. And this is a neurological shift as much as a psychological one. You are literally rewiring your brain's predictive functions based on lived experience. You are building a foundation of self-trust. When a new challenge arises, you are no longer terrorized by the question, can I do this? Because you have a catalog of past evidence proving you can do difficult things. You begin to operate from a place of generative confidence, which allows you to perform at your peak, rather than from a place of anxious doubt, which guarantees failure. This is about speaking a truth to yourself that you have earned the right to speak. It's not a lie you tell yourself to feel better. It is a conclusion based on the data of your own actions. You look at the goal, you look at your proven capacity for work and perseverance, and you make a logical deduction given who I have chosen to become. Success is the most probable outcome. All of this internal work, the self-confrontation, the purpose finding, the embracing of the grind, the resilience, the shift in mindset, it all coalesces into a single decisive act. It is the act of claiming your victory in advance. This is not mere wishful thinking or self-deception. It is perhaps the most pragmatically powerful psychological move a human being can make. You see, the future is not something that merely happens to you. It is something you participate in building moment by moment through your speech, your actions, and most fundamentally, your perception. When you operate from the unshakable belief that your success is an inevitability, you begin to act like the person who has already achieved it. This is a profound neurological feedback loop. Your posture changes. The timbre of your voice carries a new authority. You make decisions not from a place of scarcity and fear, but from a place of abundance and confidence. You stop negotiating with mediocrity because, in your bones that you are destined for something more. This isn't about arrogance, it's about aligning your entire being with a truth that has not yet manifested in time. You are bringing the future into the present through the integrity of your current actions. You are living as if it is already true, and in doing so, you generate the very conditions that make that truth manifest. People will respond to this certainty. Opportunities will gravitate toward it. You become a causal force in the world rather than a mere effect of external circumstances. This final declaration, you can't defeat me, is not a challenge you issue to the world. It is a statement of fact you whisper to yourself in the morning. It is the bedrock upon which every other action is built. It is the conscious choice to no longer live as a potentiality, but as an actuality. So let this be your new truth, carved not into stone, but into the fabric of your daily existence. The declaration, you can't defeat me, is not a boast directed at the world, but a sober commitment made to the weakest parts of your own soul. It is the realization that the ultimate adversary resides within, and that the armor against it is a purpose so profound it transforms suffering into sacrifice. It is understanding that the grind is not your enemy, but the very forge of your character. That resilience is not the avoidance of failure, but the sacred process of rising again, informed and hardened. It is the conscious shift from hope to knowing, built upon the evidence of your own endured trials. And finally, it is the courageous act of claiming that victory in advance, of living now as the person you have chosen to become, thereby pulling your future into your present through sheer force of will and action. This is how you build a life that cannot be defeated, not because it lacks challenges, but because it is founded on an unbreakable relationship with your own potential. The path is difficult, and it is supposed to be. That is what makes it meaningful.